so coming out of Beijing on the men's side, going into Shanghai, right?
Yep.
I guess Beijing and Tokyo, but those 500s now coming into the Masters 1000. Like I think the big news was like Carlos is like, I'm good. I'm skipping this one. And then early on, Sinner gets dinged up and has
Yep.
to bow out against Talon Creekspor. But and then so that kind of leaves what you think is Novak to do the thing that Novak said he was going to do. Like I'm gonna maybe clean up at some of these, best out of 3 events. But
Yep.
that ain't what we got.
Nope.
That is
Nope. Not at all.
That is not what happened. And we're back. Another episode of the Best 3 podcast. I'm still Alvin. That's still Torrey, and we're back at it again. Th. It feels like we've been like passerbys in the night lately.
Yeah.
But we are here. It's another late night edition Sunday night. We're on the heels of, I guess, Wuhan and on the women's side and Shanghai on the men's side, but wanted to get together and just kind of talk about what's happened in the last, like, call it 2.5 weeks in Asia.
Yeah.
The men have been in Shanghai for a minute. Women were in Beijing, and then on to Wuhan. So we've got a fresh set of Masters champions. But before we get into that, TH, how are you?
Man, I'm good, Alvin. I'm good. It has been a very, the missus and I are empty nesters now, so that still takes some getting used to. And
Sure.
every, after about 4 years or so, I'm used to, the kiddos being gone to school and not being here, but it's starting to feel a little more. I'm not going to say empty. I'm going to say a little more permanently empty, and it's a good feeling in some ways, and it's a weird feeling in some ways, being a fan of some older kiddos. And so it's I'm getting used to it. I'm getting used to it. I've got I think that's what I'll say. And it's it takes each phase, as many of the listeners, and as you now know, with your two, just when you get used to one phase, there's another one coming, right?
Right.
Just
Yeah.
when you get used to, them being, Gigi and Ash are now.
6 and 8.
We're not. I was about to say
Six and
9.
eight.
Yeah, 6 and 8. They are. You're now dealing with. You just got good at 7 and 5, and now you know what I mean. It's just the next chapter, and it's like they you just got comfortable, got decent at that past phase, and it's kind of like tennis in some ways. You feel like I just got used to what you were doing. And
Right.
then the
Yeah.
second set started, and you're like, "Whew, now on to the next." And so anyway, that's how I'm doing. How are you doing? How's the how's the wife, how the kiddos, and how's things on the ATL side of things?
Yeah, it's all good. And yeah, like, very like you said, opposite side of the coin here with the kids situation. Mine being much
Yeah,
younger, I'm inundated with kid related activities at any given
right,
point of the day, the week. It's always kid stuff.
right.
But that's the lens through which I live my life these days. It's
Yeah,
we're getting them to things, getting them through things, and but yeah,
pretty cool lens, by the way.
it's
Pretty
not too bad.
cool lens. You
It's
know
not
what
too
I
bad.
mean? It's
What else would I be doing with my time?
right.
Just 40
I
something years
think
old,
I
just
think we
hanging out.
we appreciate Larry and Hilda and Dixon and Vicky a whole lot more than the older we get, right? We
Sure.
we
Yeah.
appreciate what they went through. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I had got my brother. I'm the Alvin. My brother's the Travis. You know what I mean? So trust me, I get it a lot. I was just talking to my dad before I jumped on the pod, and it's you know, you think that he's changed, and really it's probably me. I'm the one who's changed, right? I'm
Right.
I'm it's kind of a neat moment. You know what I mean? My dad used to tell me about this Mark Twain quote, and I'll get back to tennis. He said, "When I left home at 18, I thought my father was the stupidest man alive. When I returned home at 21, I thought he was the smartest person alive." And in Mark Twain fashion, funny how much he learned in 3 years, right? So you know. And so I'm living the extended part of that. Is I'm realizing some of the just the common sense stuff, just seeing things through those lenses. And while certainly not infallible and not always 100% correct, certainly had a good read on the main things. And so
Yeah.
shout
Yeah.
out to Pop, shout out to Dixon Owusu, who
Absolutely.
still still to this day is one of my favorite parents, and just as and just loved tennis, and obviously, through look, and now look at you. You know what I mean? So it's I look at I look at all that, all the sometimes the first coach slash the first inspiration in your tennis is one of your
Right.
parents. You know
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
mean? And so it's just a neat full circle moment. You know what I mean? It really is.
Yeah, and yeah, Dixon's still a avid listener of the podcast.
Oh, there you
Also,
go.
still, I was with him a few weeks ago when we went to visit my family, and he's
Yeah.
still got Tennis Channel on all day
I
long.
love it.
It's
I
yeah,
love it. It he wouldn't be Dixon if he didn't. You
and
know what I mean?
it's a shock. It's no wonder that I'm sitting here yakking on
100%.
about tennis. But
100%.
in the land of things, let's pop over to the men's side, right? So this is more of one of our yeah. So so coming out of Beijing on the men's side, going into Shanghai, right?
Yep.
I guess Beijing and Tokyo, but those 500s now coming into the Masters 1000. Like I think the big news was like Carlos is like, I'm good. I'm skipping this one. And then early on, Sinner gets dinged up and has
Yep.
to bow out against Talon Creekspor. But and then so that kind of leaves what you think is Novak to do the thing that Novak said he was going to do. Like I'm gonna maybe clean up at some of these, best out of 3 events. But
Yep.
that ain't what we got.
Nope.
That is
Nope. Not at all.
that is not what happened.
Not at all. And I will say this, Alvin. I don't like giving a young player too much credit too soon.
Fair.
When I use the term, and you and I were just talking about this young man before we got on, when I use the term baby Chilich, I think Marian Chilich is one of the best players, outside of the top 3 and, and the big 5 that we've had. Dare I say he should be included in the big 5 if you had put an asterisk in there and taken, and could put 6 instead of 5, right? I mean, his resume is up that close with a couple of slams, including the other couple of guys. He just wasn't quite that level. So when I say this 2-time Grand Slam champ is a solid player, and I'm now giving this young player from Monaco his props, you have to appreciate that I have fully seen matches this guy's played. He not only even took out Novak. I'm talking about your boy Valentin
Valentin
Vacherot.
Vacherot, yeah.
Not only did he have the composure, you know what I love the most about him? When he won that match, Alvin, he was as humble and was almost apologizing that he looked as if he was just happy to have played one of his idols on the
Right.
court.
Yeah.
You could just see the humility in his eyes. Like he didn't even want to speak. He was just like, look, sir, you speak. I know I won the match, but I know you were a shell of yourself today. I'm just happy that I was able to keep my composure to do your legacy the justice it deserved. And mind you, he took your boy to the tool shed, but he did it in his own fashion. And Alvin, I got to tell you, earned also just another ounce of respect for Novak. He could have pulled out. He was dinged up. He gave the fans what they came to see. He enjoyed the battle. I think deep down he knew this guy's on
Y-
fire tonight.
You know,
But he did not. He took his medical. He took his medical,
yeah,
and
yeah.
like he normally does, just to ice the kicker, as Novak is always going to try. But it seemed to me that he realized, you know what, young fella, if you're good enough to take it from me, you have to do it.
So
But if you do it, good for you.
let me ask you
And
this then.
I just like that. I just like the vibe that he gave the match toward the end, especially. And I just wanted to say that.
Right. And I didn't have any intentions on kind of going down this Novak path tonight, but while we're
Yeah.
here,
Yeah.
let's talk about it a little bit because
Yeah.
Novak playing this event was a little, kind of eye raising to begin with. Like what is he doing here? Like why is he
Sure.
playing I mean, it's a Masters 1000. Yes, I understand, but he often he'll skip a Masters 1000 with no problem. Like
Sure. Especially on his way to what are that 6 games or whatever he's probably going to play.
yeah. It's like
And it's not about the paycheck. So
it's not the right
why?
direction either. It's like
Sure.
so why was he here? Okay, then it's Shanghai. It's hot. It's humid. It's gross. He did well to get to the semis, but walked in with like pretty much dead legs. But now we're starting to talk about the same thing, right? Like this is what's been happening in Grand Slams, right?
Yep.
When he gets to the meat and potatoes against the big boys, he is, he's out of juice, and he
Yep.
seemed to, we're in the semifinals, and again he's, out of juice for whatever reason, right?
Sure.
Conditions,
Sure. Round of
wear and tear.
16, 3 sets with
Sure,
Munar.
yeah, but we're
He then went. Didn't he have another long match? Uh, he had a close one with Bergs. And then my point is, to your point, to you about dead legs. I mean, he had some tough matches just getting to where he got.
right, and
You
but
know what I
like
mean?
so
And then
like
before he got to Vacherot.
what do we like? I mean, Vacherot did what he what the other players probably couldn't do, and he took advantage of the situation. You've got
100%.
a wounded Novak here.
Wounded.
You take
Yep.
him down. He brought his game to him.
Yep.
Kudos, but like the same things keep happening to Novak. Like we're getting the same result kind of all the
Yep.
time. Like
Yep.
getting to
Yep.
the semifinals, and then we hit the wall. Whether it's best out of 3-set matches over the course of 11 or 12 days, semifinals, or we're talking about best out of 3-set matches over the course
Yep.
of 7 days. It's
And maybe that's part of the reason why he played it, because it does have a little bit of a spread out schedule. He was able to play, you know, the 1000s do spread it out a bit, right, over the
they're
over the
starting to,
course of
yeah,
the
yeah.
of the weeks. Alvin, I'm going to take a different plug. Number one, and you have to appreciate, I have spanned the gamut on Novak from incredulous to impressed to you got to be kidding me to wow
Yeah,
to dude he's the real deal to he's the best
he's the
ever
best ever. Yeah,
to he should retire. I mean you can't. I mean, only a 20-year plus career could have the same number of epiphanies and revelations I've had on Novak Djokovic and the level of player that he is. I feel very similar to the way I felt about Serena.
okay.
Number one, why does she still play there toward the end? You can say she's chasing that number. In her case, that number was it 24 she was
24. I
chasing?
think he's going for 24. Yeah,
24, and Novak's chasing the 25. You can say that. And that's good for all the record books and this and that. But I think deep down, the record was the record. Sure, why not go for it?
sure.
But I think the bigger reason was I haven't been knocked off yet.
Right. Yep.
I'm still here. And until, yeah, I've lost a couple matches. I mean, yes, I've lost a step, but I'm still Serena, the queen,
Yep.
and Novak, I'm still the king.
Yep.
You have started to get my attention, and yes, I'm not near the player I was 10 years ago, maybe even 5. However, I still feel good. I have a shot. And to your point, Albert, he's still gotten to a few semis of some slams to his credit at his current stage. So I'm coming at Novak a little different. And I have to say, players like Vacherot have perhaps helped to put him in a place where he feels comfortable to start to let tennis move on without it.
Mm,
Until then, until the Vacherots started to do this, he could easily say, and quite frankly, in good faith, I'm still the number 3 player in the world right now.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
Only the top 2 have my number. Yeah, I'll lose an occasional match here and there. Jakob got on fire in that match in Miami. Other players, I've lost a match. I wasn't feeling this, wasn't feeling that. I've had some tough ones. Sure, I'm still Novak. And I think this match here, mind you, dinged up, mind you, KT tape all over him and whatnot. We saw that. But I just feel like if this happens 2 to 3 more times, Novak will finally feel tennis has caught up to his level and he's able to walk away. And I know that sounds strange, but I think when you've carried the game at such a high level for so long,
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like it's almost your personal obligation to feel like, okay, now it's time. And I'm not saying he's going to make that announcement soon. I don't want to even get into that whole speculation. I'm saying he has the right to assume, in a sense, that the future of the game is going to be okay without him as long as he got beat on the way out by those who are ready to take up the mantle in his place. That's what I'm saying.
That's fair, and I don't know that I'm with you. I don't know that necessarily. Valentin is the guy or one of the guys. But
Probably not.
I'm with you.
Probably
I'm with
not
you.
at 204.
Yeah.
But a player like him, and if 5 other players, I think the point I'm making with Valentin is that if 204 can do it on a given day, 2 out of 3
Right.
straight sets.
Right.
You know Yannick can do it. You know Carlos can do it.
Sure.
And both have done it. And we talked about this in our previous podcast at the French and at and at Wembley. But now we're dealing with them playing, he's playing not them. And
Right.
now that's all I'm saying is that if the other players are starting to notch their belt on him and he's starting to realize, oh, okay. Because I think he's been playing to be that benchmark for that long. It's 25, but let's be honest, he doesn't really. If he doesn't win 25, he's still the best of all time. So it's
Right.
not like he's got to break somebody's record. He has the record. I just feel like in his own way, he's gonna say, "I'm gonna play for as long as I'm able," and tennis still needs me. And until the game can, in a sense, move past me, I'm gonna keep playing. And
Right.
I think that he's starting to get, he always has known that Father Time, even these comments he's made, right? Father Time is undefeated. Maybe not 5 sets, maybe 2 out of 3. Well, maybe not even 2 out of 3 now.
Right.
So I feel like what Valentin did was helped him to understand, okay, if not now, when? But more importantly, hey, look at what you've done. You've gotten, even top 200 is inspired to play the tennis of his life just to make a competitive match with you. And while I was very happy to have my career win against you, it was also an honor to have played you. And I think that's what I saw. I saw and I'm not saying he's a Naomi. I saw Naomi, giving deference to Serena when I saw Valentin walk up to the net today, the other day, against Novak.
Yeah.
It was deference. It was humility. It was thank you for being one of the best in the world, and I am honored to have won this match.
Well,
That's what I saw.
it's
And
even
that's
more
all.
so. I mean, you could even couch it and say, yeah, Vacherot he's having a career week, right? Like, and
100%.
that was one of those clean matches one of the more routine matches he had all week, actually. Like,
Sure.
similar score against Laslogier in the first round, but the players that he beat quality players from Bublik, and Mahach did a Mahach thing, but then he also took out Tal, he takes out Holger, he takes out Novak, and then plays against his cousin in the final in a pretty fantastic match.
Solid
But
match.
I
Solid match.
it reminded me of, though, like, this kind of run. So he goes from 200 to, I think he's going to be 40,
Yeah,
something like that next week.
Yeah,
40.
36 like that. Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
get a lot of points if you want to Masters 1000. But, like,
You're also coming from 204. So.
right, yeah. But so that's
Just
really good timing, though, because now that sets him up really well for the rest for next year, right? He's going to be a direct
100%.
entry into all the Grand Slams,
100%.
probably all the Masters 1000. So, like, at age 26, we're going to find out, okay, what kind of player is he? Is he a 200 level challenger player or 200
That just
world
had a
challenge
good
player
week.
that had a good week, or
Right.
is he
Yeah.
this level player who just needed, this is his quote unquote breakout? It really reminds me of Eubanks's run at
Yep.
Wimbledon a couple
Wembley.
of 3 years ago now.
Yep.
But then in the subsequent 12 months, like, had a tough time backing
Defending.
it up. Yeah.
Sure.
Tough backing up. So I think,
And we'll see that, right? You mentioned cousin, also teammate, right, from A&M, back in college. And so I just feel like you're absolutely right, Alvin. And again, I don't want to put any more roses on Valentin Vacherot than he has yet to earn. As I said, I'm giving him pretty good props by comparing him even to Chilich in his style of play. You remember old school, never nervous Purvis Ellison from
oh
back
yeah,
in the day. Yeah, he just seemed
never
like
nervous, always at your service.
so right. He was so composed. So his composure in that match to me was what won me over. Because how do you stay composed playing Novak Djokovic, number one, and number two, playing well, knowing that at any time, Novak could turn it on, or at any time you feel like your play could fall off. So
fall out of the tree.
right, right. So and hit every branch on the way down, right?
Every single
So
branch.
so I feel like he did such a masterful job of not only staying in that moment, he absolutely owned it. And then, of course, backed it up with a great final. He was actually going away in that match and hit this backhand up the line against his cousin. I mean, when I tell you, he just took a return like I'm taking this backhand up the line, you know, to heck with it. And that one backhand return turned his whole set around, let
Yeah.
alone the rest of the match. Anyway, I say it to say this guy he showed his hunger, he showed his tennis level, played well all week, which is not easy to do, right? It's not easy to play a week to 10 days good tennis and play that focus and that solid and to have that kind of belief, right? But I also feel like he did that, and hats off to him. This to me was more about Novak on, waxing, than it was him waning, but it certainly was a great tournament. I'm excited to see his next year. I'm excited to see what Novak will do. And I think that's where I'm at with this. And I feel like if, again, a 204 can do this to the greatest of all time, to me that should give him a little bit of pause to say, okay,
Well,
okay, I don't need to be
we
I don't need to be everybody's good career win my last 6 months on the tour.
but
It's how
also
I'm kind of taking it.
I
What do
think
you what do you say?
I look at it. I hear you. I also have to think about it. Let me okay. Novak shows up in Shanghai. We haven't seen Novak since the U.S. Open, right? So he
Mhm.
hasn't played a tournament in 6 weeks or so, something like that, right? That's a pretty good layoff. So like, what is Novak's plan for the rest of the year? Like, is he using this event to get himself like ready to go to Paris? Is he going to play in Paris? That's in a couple weeks or a couple days. And then there's also like year in finals. Is he planning on participating there? So like, if that's his plan, then okay, you got to get one of these under your belt, get some matches. He
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
5 matches here or whatever.
Yeah.
That's
For
so
sure.
maybe that's job done if he's making a run at you know is he trying to get himself into that number 3 spot, solidify, go into Australian Open, like
Right.
with a really nice with a real opportunity for him to get a
Sure.
a cleaner start into that tournament, or
Yeah.
even further into that tournament. So um, be, that's my Novak of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing, no real
And that's fair.
takeaway, no real takeaway. Just kind of
And
like
there isn't one, right? But I
yeah,
think it's certainly relevant for us to talk about it and to just, quietly muse.
what does it mean?
You know
Like
what? This
what?
could add yet another straw, you know what I mean, on the proverbial camel's back to what he may do in the future. I would not be surprised at all if he calls it a day in Australia. I really won't. He's won that event more than anybody. That's been his favorite slam. I think it was his first slam. Clearly, it'd be a good place to wrap it up. Unlike, not unlike Nadal did at the French. So, and again, I think that, and I saw some other things about it from the Australian side of things. They'll be prepared if that happens. So, I just feel like he will be. The match took on the minor significance of the game is now in a good place. If you wanted to step aside now, it's okay.
Mm,
And that's the place that that's the view, that's the lens under which I saw it. It's almost there was a couple of looks after a couple big points that he was looked over and he was almost smiling, like kind of happy for Vacherot. He was kind of like, look, you know what, man, great match, good for you.
yeah,
Like, yeah, and it wasn't a piss at himself or I'm not healthy. It was I'm good. And to your point, what does that mean? We don't know,
we don't know.
but
We don't know.
he looked, dare I say, and this is a very un-Novak like quality, content.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And he usually
Well,
doesn't look that salty. He handles losses with a lot of grace.
yeah,
From a loss against a guy like Vacherot to a loss against Carlos to a loss against Yannick, like he always seems to like
yeah,
once they get to the net, like he carries himself like the like elder
champion he
statesman
is.
of the game. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
100%.
class act 100% of the way there. Before we kind of totally switch gears, I want to just kind of
Yeah,
quickly call out. Medi had himself a nice couple weeks.
he did.
He
He
did
did.
back-to-back semifinals
Yep.
in Beijing and then Shanghai. get
and had a
himself
drag out with Rinderknech, you
Rinderknech
know,
in the
in the
semifinals.
semi.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So like it's I don't does it mean anything? I don't know, but he's in this part of his career now. Like he's got a new coach. He's working with Thomas Johansson now and trying
yep,
to figure out like, okay, what's in this stage of his career,
right.
what does he have left? Who is the player he's going to need to
Yep,
become, evolve into to, he's 29 years old, about to be 30. He's past his prime, right? And is he going to be on the tour for 5 more years? I highly doubt it. But
yep,
what can Daniil Medvedev be in
yep.
2026 and beyond? With the he's won 20 titles in his career. He's won a Grand Slam. He's been one in the world. Like
Lost
how
a few and lost a few finals, you know what I mean? A
lost a
few
few
Grand Slam finals,
finals.
you know. So
Yeah,
that to me is that to me is B plus honorable mention right there. So it's one thing to win one, it's another thing to win one and lose two finals. I think it's been two. I
he
mean, so
lost. Yeah, at
that in
least.
itself is big, showing that he's been there and done it again. So no fluke, right? But you know what? As long as he continues to improve, I've always felt like Daniil's issues were not coming to net enough, not finishing what he started. He has punishing ground strokes. We all know that. He can be out there all day long. We all know that. He's taller than you think, faster than you think. Unfortunately, as Father Time lets you know, that can't go on forever.
Yep.
And so it's just something that I'd love to see, a new wrinkle. Nadal got older, you saw more slice. You saw more coming to net, of all people. Uh, Novak got older, you saw more serve and volley. You know,
Yep.
you saw more, you saw a lot more taking a few inside outs, you know, but to try to rope the court, you saw a few more rolls, a ton more drop shots, and so on. You kept seeing these different nuances and different ways to win. I didn't feel like, and he showed at this tournament, he's coming forward a lot more. He's hitting the ball and coming in a little bit more. I just didn't I always felt like Daniil was still trying to out hit you, outlast you, outsteady you in times past, and kind of letting the experience he had that you might miss. And I go back to that Lerner 10 match that he lost Australia almost a year ago now. He just didn't seem like he had anything behind it after that was the case. And ironically, I think he beat Lerner in this tournament here, and did a nice
They've
job
played so many times, like
so many
this year.
times, right?
It's
It's
weird.
almost
Like,
like the way the computer puts them there together. But my point is I felt like that was a tough matchup for him, and he handled that match quite well. So that was, I just say it to say I'm look forward to Daniil. He's always been a fun player to watch. Look forward to seeing this next chapter of his and his buddy Rublev's, but who I haven't seen it in a few weeks. But I felt like Daniil has done a really bang up job, mm, and kind of back to his pride, back on the indoor hard courts, right? And
right? Yeah.
where he thrives.
Yeah. Just kind of before we go over to the women's side, I was
Yeah,
taking a look at the winners of the little Vacherot, obviously coming out of nowhere and winning this Masters 1000. I was thinking, I feel like there've been a lot of randomness, like a lot of one-off winners in Masters 1000s on the men's side this year.
this
And
year, sure.
of the eight events, we've had six different winners, and none of them were named Novak Djokovic or Yannick Sinner, right? So obviously Yannick missed a couple of them due to
Yep,
the
yep.
suspension, and I guess he missed three of them. But it's I'm not gonna say it's a sign of parity. I don't know if it's a sign of anything. I didn't really, reverse research this to see how abnormal it is. But I mean, Carlos has done his job. He's won three of them. But then you've got other players like Draper won Indian Wells and Minchik in Miami. Obviously, Vassaro here. Ben Shelton won Canada.
Yep,
And then Casper snuck in Madrid, right? So,
yep, yep.
um, it
To his demise in the French, I might add. But
right. Yeah, you take what you can get. You take what you can get. But it's interesting. I was talking to someone tonight at dinner. And he grew up in the Cincinnati area, going to the Cincinnati Open, so we just got talking about tennis a little bit, and
yeah,
um, we were talking about kind of like what seems to be this chasm between two and the rest of the top two, and then everyone else. And I feel like that's the biggest question mark in the men's game right now is like, how is that gap going to close? And
yeah.
is it going to continue to widen until new players, like, are the players who are there now, are those going to be the ones that actually close that gap? Or are we our hopes better spent on someone who's like currently 16 or 17 years old right now, who will then
Yeah,
become the one to challenge
tough.
them?
It's it's tough to say because off this match today, while I too agree that the gap is widening between two and everyone else, um, including number three, uh, I feel like the gap between 204 and top 40 just got pancaked. So to my point, I feel like, and this started back in Australia, Alvin, you and I talked about this, about all the upsets and things that happen. And with all of the withdrawals, with all of the retires, with all that happened in the French, I want to say, wasn't it something crazy like 20 some odd, 18, I think some odd players the seeds that went out early for whatever reason, matches, injuries, and what have you. I feel like, well, now you've got a whole nother set of players, 18, that have probably gotten 2, 3 more rounds in slams than they normally would go.
Right.
So that creates a little bit of a vacuum. Now, this Vacherot character comes in out of nowhere, much like Jakob did in Miami, but he had the term of his life. But this guy's not, he's not a complete no name. He's been out there for a while. He's top player at A&M, cousins and teammates and friends with Rinderknech, and Rinderknech is himself, not is a solid player. So you're
Yep.
looking at what is Rinderknech? Is he 30, 20? What is he in the world right now?
In the world, Rinderknech, I'll keep going. I'll pull it up.
Yeah,
I'll find
my
it. Yeah.
point being solid is what I'm saying. Now he's certainly not 110, and he's been out there and had a handful of big matches this past year, knocked off some good players. Didn't Rinderknech beat Zverev in the first round or two of was it Wendy? What was his big win that he had? He beat somebody early this year. I thought it was Zverev early, maybe second round,
Possibly. I mean, he's. I
or
mean,
maybe first round of French. Anyway, my point being, I thought he had a big match where he knocked off a seed early, and to my point, clearly nobody's walking the park. And
oh
I
yeah, you
just
nailed
say
it.
it to
Yeah,
say,
he beat Zverev first round Wimbledon this year.
I thought so. I
Yep.
remember that match. I remember and I think he beat him pretty good. I think he it was. I say it to say you're when you're. Let's just say he's 30. I don't know what his ranking is. Let's say he's somewhere around that range, maybe a little bit better. When that level is knocking off a top 4 or 5 seed, that shows you that level is getting closer.
Right.
When
Yeah.
when a Vacherot at 204 is getting this deep in Shanghai, forget getting into Shanghai, let
He
alone
qualied in.
right?
Yeah.
Let alone getting this deep after the qualies, let alone winning the darn thing. You start realizing that there's a lot of upside from these players that are out there. I think it's too early to talk about the next number 3 who's going to challenge the top 2. I think we're looking more at a situation of who will the next 2 be. And that's where I think we should be looking at in a sense, putting our
Oh.
periscope down that far. I just feel these 2 are going to continue to move on. And as long as they're healthy, they'll be where they are. I mean, it could be 3 or 4 years. And at that point in time, will they start to come down a little bit? Will the tour catch up to them? Yes, it will. Do I think it'll be in the next year or so? Not really. But do I think that they'll eventually catch up? They always do, Alvin. They always
Well.
do. They'll
Okay.
catch up.
That's
Who
the
will it
thing. Like,
be?
who
I just think the tour at large will catch up. I don't think it'll be a player.
So that's the thing. I'm with you, and I think this is one of the things we should celebrate with like someone like a Vacherot, like popping and winning a major title and beating good players along the way. Is like someone who's 200 in the world is damn good, right?
Yeah.
There's not that much of a difference on any given match between 200 and 30, right?
Yep.
Like that, it's in the like Rinderknech is 40 in the world. So like in there, so there's
Yep.
there's your sample right there. But what I think is happening is like, yeah, that level looks better, but it's also probably a reflection of maybe the top outside of the 2 is coming down a little bit. Like it's that gap is closing from, let's say, 5 to 200 as opposed to the gap between 5 and 2. That gap doesn't feel like
Right.
it's closing at all. It's the other
Right.
gap that is, which makes,
Yep.
let's take the Carlos and the Yannick out of it, right? Like what they're doing is obvious, and we talk about it a lot ad nauseum here on this podcast and a lot of other places. I think this is an opportunity to celebrate like what you should be doing when you're at tennis tournaments, like in the first couple of days, is like go out to court 18. There's great tennis
Right.
players out there. The guy,
Right.
the next guy that's going to pop through and win a random 500, 1,000
Right.
is out there on court 18, court 17, grinding away against Rublev or something, and
Right.
you have an opportunity to go sit on the sideline and watch them. So go do
Right.
that. Go do that. Enjoy that,
That's
because
right.
these guys are balling all over the place.
I was at I want to say it was 16, 14, 15, I forget, on some outdoor old court 6 and 7 at the US Open. I saw Jessica Pegula win one of her first matches at the Open first round, and Alex Xander Zverev. They played on the same court right next to each other. This is years ago, 10 plus years ago, Alvin. And I'm telling you, I remember saying to myself, this Zverev kid's gonna be good. And I said the same about Jessica. He's got a shot. And I want to say at a similar term, a year or two later, we were there watching the qualies, and I saw Naomi play one of the American girls there.
Right. Yep.
And so to your point, and you just saw the way she was hitting, you're like, girl's gonna be good one day. Like she's got everything. Everything. It's just a matter of time for her to put it all together. And to your point, that kind of player you like. I kind of pride myself on having seen these players when they were, when they were up and comers and kind of tagged them, so to speak. Like you got to watch this one. She's gonna be good. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that this is exactly to your point. It's gonna keep happening. I think the tour is just getting that much better. And that's my point. I don't think it should be looked at as a negative. I think people should realize the tennis that you're watching. If you had put two different names on that final, and there had been some names you'd recognize, so to
Right.
speak,
Yeah.
you would have had the crowd already looked sold out, but you would have had more eyes on that screen. But the fact that match was a good match, Alvin. These
Yeah.
two, I had no idea until after I checked and looked up some things. They were A related and B teammates. And because I was like, man, he got really emotional for this being a routine match. In the talk, I don't speak French, so I'm not sure what he was saying. But oh man, he's getting really choked up. And so that's when when I looked up, I'm like, oh, that all makes sense. While he was, giving him a lot of props there. But I say it to say that was a quality match. I mean, just a great match. It was no let off from the match with Daniil or from Novak the
Right.
match before. It was quality. And I'm looking at this saying, dude, if this guy proved himself that he is certainly worthy of being top 50 and then some, we'll see what the next year brings, right? But I'm just telling you, Alvin, that the level has grown. Now, what will that do to the next tier? That will push them a little further. Now they keep getting a little stronger over time, and it may take a year. Over time, I feel 10 through 20 will start to push that much stronger on 6 through 12, so to speak. And then you're going to have 6 through 12. One of them is going to just start saying, you know what? Somebody's got to win this match. It might as well be me. And
Yeah.
then that one of them is gonna end up serving, and maybe a Ben serving bombs and just going through a draw on the right day. It might be Taylor, feeling like, you know what? I beat you once before, I can do it again. And didn't he beat him in Davis Cup? What was that he beat him in? What match did Taylor beat Carlos in? Not long back.
Uh, the Laver Cup. Come on.
Flavor Cup, sorry.
Laver Cup. And then
Just saying.
Carlos tuned him up like the next week in a real tournament. Like
To my point, he's in that slot. Could he? That's all I'm saying. Could he? And I'm just telling you, could it be? Is it likely? No. Is it possible? Yeah.
I don't even want to think about it. I just want to. We were forced to talk about these guys a lot, like especially around the Grand Slams and usually around these Masters events. And it's kind of refreshing to go like, you know what?
Yeah. It could.
Valentin Vacherot and Artur Rinderknech. Like,
yeah.
Thank you for entertaining us.
Thank you for giving us a great week of tennis. My one thing I'm saying, I don't think we should be looking at one player. We should look for the tour in mass to catch up over time. That's my point, and that's all I'll say on the subject.
That's fair. That's fair. It could be death of a thousand.
It'll be a death of 1,000 cuts for some of these guys to finally get there. But anyway,
you mentioned Jessica Pegula. You seeing her at U.S. Open, so I think that's a good time to segue over to the women's side. I'm gonna kind of want to take a look at obviously Wuhan. The Wuhan 1000 wrapped up today. Coco Gauff beat Jessica Pegula 4-5 in the final. But also we didn't really talk much about the women's event in Beijing the week prior, where Amanda Anisimova takes that title. But I'm looking at both of them in a kind of together, because you had all of the top players were there either in both events, or some of them, like Amanda, played Beijing and then decided not to go to Wuhan. Arina Sabalenka did not play Beijing, showed up to Wuhan fresh. I think you're starting to see. I don't know that I'm really starting to see anything, to be honest with you, or learn anything, but it's really just a testament. I feel like it's a testament to the top of the women's game having a lot of parity right now. Like 1 through 8, they're all showing up, right?
Yep.
They show up and they usually come to these events. Iga had a rough couple of weeks there. She looks a little bit burnt out, and maybe indoors not the best place for her
Yeah.
for her
Yep.
tennis. But Coco, she got blitzkrieg by Anisimova in the semifinals of Beijing, and everyone's like, "Oh gosh, what's wrong with Coco?" It's like, okay, well, that's probably more about Amanda,
Yep.
because Amanda on her good day is going to give everyone problems, and Coco as well. Like, she'll step into the court and just
Stay on a
she'll
hard
bully
court
her.
with the true
Y-
bounce and that backhand. And if
Yeah,
Coco tries to match up backhand to backhand, that's a bad matchup for Sabalenka. You know what I mean?
right.
You know,
Yeah,
you know it's a tough matchup for somebody who doesn't have that same serve and doesn't have that same strike. You know what I mean? So that's just, you know, that's a problem.
Coco's best shot is her backhand cross, and then where's that going? That's going right into Amanda's
Mm.
backhand anywhere. She'll take that backhand up the line, and now it's going to Coco's like weakness, the forehand side, but it's not even like it's going there. It's going past. It's crossing the baseline that way. Like the hell with the rally. We're not changing the rally. We're ending the
Right,
rally going that way.
right.
But then like Coco backs it up, like gets to the final, plays a great match today against Jessica.
Yeah.
But then you've also got and then Jessica semifinal last week, final
Yep.
this week. Coco semifinal last week, final this week. Paolini quarterfinal last week, semifinal this week. Like
Yep.
our top players are showing
Going
up,
up
and
consistently.
as
Yep.
which is great because they're going into WTA Finals like 2 weeks, something like that,
Yep.
maybe 2 weeks, a week and a half. I'm excited about that tournament. I think it's
Yeah.
going to be great. I think they're in Riyadh this year. Everyone is, Andreeva she looks a little burnt out, a little tired.
Yep. Yep.
Iga
One
looks
year for her.
a little um,
Yep.
but hell, she won a Grand Slam this year. Whatever, it's fine. But yeah, and Sabalenka, takes care of her back in a pretty handily, which is always good to see after a pretty extensive layoff, and then played another tight match against Jessica Pegula, and where Jessie was able to pull it out 7-6 in the third. So I say that all to say women's tennis is a fantastic product. It's in a fantastic place right now. And any week that there's a 500 or 1,000 event, you turn it on and it's going down. And that's what excites me about the women's game right now. And like, who's going to win Australian Open? Hell if I know, but it's going to be great.
Tune in and find out.
It's going to
Yeah.
be great.
Yeah. 100%. And you better bring it. And
Yeah,
I think that's to carry over, and to complete the segue, that's what's happening all across. This is not a bad thing, Alvin. This is a great thing. It's a
it's
great thing for
great. It's
tennis.
fantastic.
You
It's
know, I,
fantastic.
I used to get so mad at the commentators who seemingly wanted to trounce the career or the quality of the previous match by putting it to the stopwatch test. And another match from Serena, she dispatched her opponent in 37 minutes. And I'm like, the girl's not that bad, number one. She just hasn't played Serena before or hasn't played on Arthur Ashe before or whatever the case may be.
Hmm.
And you got to appreciate how good Serena is. But to dispatch that person like they are 47 minutes worth of someone's time and attention, and this person's been playing for the better part of 10 to 15 years, to me was always doing the rest of the tour a disservice. And I got really upset back in the day at the commentators, we won't go there tonight, but on continuing to diss the rest of the players. I feel like the tour at large has had to now take this upon themselves to say, look here, I know you haven't heard of me yet, but check this out. I got something to say, and I'd like to get an hour and a half of your time and attention just to let you understand that I've been working hard on my craft, and maybe you'll remember who I am after this match. And I love the fact that it's not just parody; it's a show of it's a show of quality of skill that's taking over. And the fact that
Hmm.
all of these women are starting to knock each other off, not because they want to, trust me. So Sabalenka would love to have these ladies just keel over in the second set or go tight and go away in the third. It's just not happening. You know what I mean? And I gotta say, Coco looked as good as I've seen her since she won her other two slams. Looked as clean as she moved well. I mean, looked like she had a brand new set of Pirellis on the sports car today. I mean, was just looking. Jessica could not have had longer rallies, Alvin. And Coco was like, "See you one, and I'll raise you two." I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
when you start hitting on the run winners and at ball number 18 in a rally that's already been pretty high tempo, that just shows level of her fitness. Her serve looked pretty good, Alvin. Her, we already know the backhands all day. She did that after a week before of some solid tennis, which just shows me that the girl is just in the prime shape right now and really look good. And JPEG, have to say, JPEG JPEG got to be she's got to be getting close to 30. Is she not a little, or maybe a little past? How old is Jessica now?
Oh, I can pull
Not
it, but I
quite.
think she's probably
Got to be getting
30,
close. Got to be getting
early
close. If not,
30s.
I was gonna say maybe a little past 30. My point being, she's
31. Yep. Yep.
31. I'm about to say I thought she was pretty close. She is looking pretty fit herself, right? I would never confuse her with the Olympic track star, but I would always say she hits the cleanest ball and she manages the court better than anybody with that skill set. And the fact that Coco just had to flat out play her today to take it from her, and it was again a quality match, and that was on the heels of her beating Sabalenka, and I think Gauff beat who she beat Paolini, and one before. So
Yep. Yep.
just some good tennis, just some real good
And
tennis, man.
that's one of like kind of like two things there. That like that's the nuanced difference between like Jessica Pegula and Amanda Anisimova, right? Like Pegula hits a clean ball, but that ball won't necessarily hurt you.
Right,
It's that
won't
extra.
penetrate you. Right,
Exactly, and that's the
right,
player that sometimes gives Coco troubles. I'm gonna say give Coco
right.
troubles. Like Coco's 3 in the world, right? So like
Yeah,
we're going back to back, semifinal final of 1000s in a year, in which
yep,
she's also won a Grand Slam. I think
yep,
this is her second maybe 1000 win of the year, I believe, maybe if not, she's finaled a few of them, but um yeah, it's like the nuance difference between Pegula and Anisimova is like just it's kind of like little stuff like that, and I think Coco did a really great job today of adjusting and like using the slice forehand to get
100%.
herself, out of awkward spots, mid
Right.
court, a little
More
shorter
importantly,
than.
if I can add, and to not
Please
give
do.
Jessica the shot that she normally hurts her with. She went back body with that
Yeah,
slice to the backhand. Jessica would prefer to have a running forehand and to strike a ball like she can on the run and then run Coco and then maybe come to net and try to come behind it. Coco said, "Not today. I'm going to give you this ball back right at you in this backhand corner. Create a shot from there." Create a shot from there that doesn't go back, that does not go back to my backhand. You know what I mean? And from there, we'll see. It's like when you get a bad
right.
shot in pool, you know what I mean? And you give them the same bad shot back. You're like, oh, you try. No, your turn. So at some point, you got to go for your shot, and at that point, you come back through me. So I thought she played a very tactical match today. And you could tell they were doing a lot. They know each other's games well. These former doubles
Right.
partners
Yeah.
and whatnot, they know each other's games very well. I was very, very happy to see the tactical X's and O's go through that match. It was just good fun to see.
Yeah, and I think we'll hold off on our last year. I remember at the end of last year we did a kind of year in review, and we also did a little breakdown of where is American women's tennis, snapshot. And I'm looking forward to doing it again later on this year because I'm going to go back and listen to that previous episode because I think a lot of the things that you called the Anisimova out of nowhere. I feel like you mentioned last year that you were excited to see about her coming back, and if she's healthy, she can make a run at it. And oh hell, she's 4 in the world. She's making a run at it. Um,
Yep,
but yeah, it's exciting times. American tennis like crushing it right now on the women's side,
100%.
and yeah, it's quarterfinals on out at any of one of these major women's events. It's popcorn. One more thing. It kind of we talk about these two tournaments kind of together, Beijing and Wuhan.
Yep.
The women play a bit of a more condensed schedule. With a few more Masters events than the men
Mhm.
have. But they go back to back on these Masters 1000s pretty often. Like Doha and Dubai are back to back. Indian
Yep.
Wells, Miami, obviously both genders back to back.
Yep.
Madrid and Rome, but again, both genders back to back. But then also same thing for wherever they are in Canada and then Cincinnati. But
And
then
in
this
Cincinnati. Yep.
Beijing, this Beijing Wuhan thing again is like again it's back to back. So while it feels like a part of the season that is often slept on, post U.S. Open,
Yep.
it's still hot. Like it's still on and popping
Yep.
on the women's side. And I, coming off of the U.S. Open, we worked really hard, and then
Yep.
I went to Africa, and then I came back, and I'm like, all
Yep.
right, like where are we in the tennis calendar? And it's just like it just won't stop. It won't stop.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it won't
Can't
stop. And
stop,
then
won't
also
stop.
like
Yeah.
it can't stop, won't stop. But then also like I was like, oh, you settle in. Like, oh well, this got some good matches. Like Paolini's in the quarterfinals of another big event. All right, cool. Let's keep going.
Yeah.
We're
Yep.
the women continue to create a fantastic product for us as fans
Yep.
to enjoy and talk about. So
Yep.
I'm a happy camper right now.
I am too, Alvin. And it's so much, I'm going to say the term distressing news. Uh, this has been a very great escape for me personally. I make it a point to stay neutral in all things uh, political, but I have to say the tennis has just been a great oasis away from some of the things going on. And just to be able to have a sense of normalcy in the sports world. And it's just really, really good to see, not just because it's a distraction, so to speak, but it's also being in the game that I love. The quality has not been this good. Round for round, match for match has not been this good in a long time. Dare I say ever. And it's just really good to watch. I mean, you got some, there are quality players that are just outside of being seeded that are dangerous to the person who's the seed. You have low seeds that have worse draws, unfortunately, and they're the
Right.
seeds, right? You've got top players that are number one in the world that have three icebergs in their way on the way to where they're trying to go. And when has that happened? Right? When has that happened that, ooh, who's in her side of the draw though? Where you're not thinking, oh, they'll pretty much take care of business here, buddy. You don't know. You know what I mean? And I think that's a great thing for the game. It's a great thing, as you mentioned, for the product itself. I really feel like the the timing is really, really well done for the women. Hats off to them on the scheduling. They were doing some of this stuff 10, 15 years ago, Alvin, when they were starting to make some of the changes on the tour to put some of these to make it to where some of the girls could get, so the ladies could get points quicker if they were that good. I think the men were
Right.
still kind of stuck in this futures and challengers kind of a because there were just so many of them, right? They had to have a way of kind of sifting through all the players. I mean, Vacherot was playing a challenger, 2 weeks ago. I mean, this guy's,
Right.
let alone a tour event, a challenger. You know what I mean? So, and the women have turned challengers their challengers were high end futures for what the men had even years ago, and then they were getting more tour events in early, and just the way the point system would go. I've heard some things back and forth after our last podcast about the tour and events and the
Hmm.
WTA and ATP might merge, and they're having talks about it. I hope that they adopt the WTA's point system and to your point, the back-to-back 1000s would actually help, in my opinion. And, we'll see. We'll see what that does to some of the unfortunate 250s and 500s. A lot of 250s at stateside have gone away because of some of
Yeah.
these 500s. Um, but I really feel like there's a cleaner path to get to the product that you're looking for if you went that route. And again, to me, I'm all for quality of tennis. So whatever that's going to do and can make the play we're seeing sustainable, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I think it's all about like we often talk about like, how many players should be able to earn a living while
Right.
being a professional tennis player. And my answer is always like, I mean, homeboy, this is an entertainment product. So it's really
Yep.
about what is the thing that we can put forth that people want to watch on television and people want to buy tickets
Right.
to watch and
Right. To
can
support.
actually sustain the sport. So like
100%.
maybe it's not
100%.
100, maybe it's fewer, but like
Right.
it's going to be what it's going to be. But I think specifically on the women's side, like anytime you get to the last three rounds of an event, you got multiple Grand Slam champions having to go through each other to
Yes.
to carry a trophy in China. I think it's fantastic. It's in a great
Yep.
spot.
And great turnout. You saw the crowds like I did. Talk
Yeah,
about great turnout. I mean, it was and this is China. I mean, you're thinking that, I mean, there was, it looked like every seat in the house was full. I mean, I'm like, I mean, very complimentary both sides. I mean, very, you can almost kind of get a feel for watching the tournament all the way through. You kind of see the crowd kind of get behind a certain player or not,
sure,
and
yeah,
for them to get behind so many of the different players that were there. I mean, I thought the crowd was very even for Coco and for Pegula, and I was just like, you know what? You know, it was just a very, it, you could tell there's fans like us all over the world, and that also was refreshing. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I've said it before. There's a whole lot more that we agree on than we disagree. You know, and I
absolutely.
think the world would be a better place if we focused on that a little more than the other way around.
And the world would also be a better place if all you people who are listening to this podcast and haven't subscribed go ahead and actually subscribe too, because I know the numbers. I know you're listening. I know you're out there. You just hit that, just smash that subscribe button. Okay, do us a favor. Do us a favor. And with that, I think let's put a pin in it. I think
Absolutely.
we had fun. But that's another episode of the Best of the podcast. Alvin, that's Tori. We are out.